uneducated liberal in this debate on the whatever podcast.
Let's say a group of Asian people found a white dude, and they just started beating the out of him, and they started calling him the C word while they were doing it.
Wait.
Would that maybe be racially motivated?
I mean, maybe, but like historically, they probably deserve it. It's like, I don't know.
How have you arrived at that conclusion?
That's a good question. I don't know, just hearing like all the stories about like all this messed up stuff they did in the past. Like, I'm not even black, but I have a grudge against them.
Well, wait, but you're part white. You're part white.
What stories are you referring to in particular?
I don't know, just learning stuff in history. Like,
are you referring to slavery?
Yeah, and just like the treatment of them over time since then, like all the discrimination.
Do you think that white people were the only ones who engaged in slavery?
Probably not. That's probably around the world too.
Do you think that maybe the fact that you don't know that everybody engaged in slavery is part of the reason why you think the way that you do about this?
I don't know. I don't think it has to do with my worldviews. I think it has to do with the insecurity in myself. I don't like the white part of me, so I kind of project that onto others, probably.
Thank you.
Right. Okay. Well, that's a pretty self-aware thing to say. But the transatlantic slave trade. How do you think they went about getting slaves? Like, what do you think the process was?
Didn't they go like that's part of America, right? They like went into Africa and stole them from their homes.
Yeah. So you think that they just went to Africa and then like rounded them all up and like caught them, put them in sacks, and then put them on the boat?
That's pretty much the gist of what I got out of it.
So the reality of it is, and like it's not your fault for not knowing this, our education system is so flawed, that the Africans who were sold in the slave trade were sold by other Africans. So there were slave markets in Africa where they would capture their own people and sell them off overseas. And there was also the Barbary slave trade as well, which was like Arabic Barbary pirates who would capture white Europeans and enslave them too. And there was like over 1 million white Europeans that were enslaved during the Barbary slave trade. So slavery happened around the world everywhere.
So wait, are you trying to like say that like white people were slaves too?
Yeah, what?
Now, this female is not doing us any favors, and this female is not doing us any favors, and she's sort of an idiot. But that guy there, not saying that guy is an idiot, but he's just using anecdotes. You know, he's not giving her a grand education, and I see how he somehow try to manipulate the conversation. Now, there's a YouTuber. First of all, I would like to say that I do not condone any violence. Any violence to somebody, retribution for slavery. I do not condone any violence whatsoever. As Frederick Douglass said, that there's no place that his former slave master is safer to sleep at than Frederick's own house. I'm paraphrasing here, because Frederick Douglass invited his ex-slave master to dine with him in his mansion. And of course, his ex-slave master reclined. Of course, he didn't want to see how good Frederick Douglass was doing and sitting at the table having a debate, and Frederick Douglass is giving him a good finger wagging. Now, the thing is, as a YouTuber who goes by the name of Farming Wild Beige, a light-skinned mixed man who has a YouTube channel about farming, he stated that some of the things that the liberals are saying will make white people hate black people more. My thing is, if you hate black people, you just hate black people. But I understood. I understand it. Because it's like they feel that, and I don't even know why she had to bring up black people. Like, you know, when you're talking about white people, it's like, can people go 2 seconds without mentioning us? She could have said, you know, white people, there's a bunch of things she could have said about white people. You know what I'm saying? The extinction of certain animal species, you know, Australia, white people came and invaded in places that were peaceful, that didn't have slavery, that didn't have war and conflict, like, you know what I'm saying, like in Australia and so forth, or the Tasmanian people. But it goes into, she's mentioning black people, and then he mentioned slavery. She did mention the stuff after slavery, but of course he's going to keep it at slavery and say pretty much just regurgitate everything we've said before. Like, you think white people was involved in slavery? Oh, it happened around the world. Black people enslaved their own selves and so forth. When you had different tribes didn't look at themselves as kindred because of skin color. Also, me being FBA, the slavery here in America, let's go far beyond the transatlantic slavery. You had people on American soil that was born slaves. And some of these people were a mixture of black, white, and Native American, and then some people who was already here that were enslaved, particularly the Seminole Indians, who was very black. Matter of fact, Florida, I'm gonna give you a real history lesson. I would have loved to debate this dude because I would have destroyed him. Florida actually used to be a free colony. Florida. Matter of fact, slaves used to run away south to Florida because it was owned by Spain, the Spaniards. And the Spaniards freed their slaves, but told them like, yeah, you convert to Catholicism, yeah, and you're free. So that's why you had this population of black Catholics in Florida. And long you had the Seminole Indians running around there too. Now, literally, Spain left Florida and left it to their former slaves. Quincy Jones Adams, that white guy, the president, before he was president, saw what was going on there and urged the U.S. government to take Florida and throw those Seminole Indians and those black people back into slavery. Facts. You can look this up yourself. So a lot of people was getting enslaved. Freed people was going back into slavery. So white people here in America just can't just say that, oh, everybody participated in slavery. And still, if you say everybody participated in slavery, then you say, yeah, we're guilty too. I'm like, you're just admitting your guilt. Also, he brings up the Berbers in North Africa. Like, oh, Europeans were enslaved by the Berbers. Nobody's saying whites were the only people that enslaved people. But hence, white people still running around with that Confederate flag almost and honoring ex-slave masters. Almost like they kind of walk around with it like, we enslaved black people as a badge of honor, as a part of our history. Rather, why don't you do like other enslavers before, like giving out some sort of retribution and sort of at least brushing it off. Hey, let's get rid of these Confederate statues and get rid of all the Confederate stuff. You know what I'm saying? And sort of wipe our hands with it. Which they want to wipe their hands with it, but at the same time, they sort of want to honor this institution. But as far as the Berbers go, the Berbers, which their real names was the Amazing People, or AMAZIGHN, Amazing People of Africa, which later became the Berbers. They were the original black people of Africa. Of Northern Africa, because when you think of Northern Africans, you got the Arabs there or whatever. No, the Berbers was the name that was given to them. They were the original black people of North Africa. And also the Muslims that went and enslaved white Europeans. They was enslaving Christians. These Muslims that swept through North Africa, and people should know the story about sweeping through North Africa, because it was from the Persian Empire. They didn't like Christians. They really didn't like infidels. They enslaved black people too. So black people these Africans was getting it from the European Christians and the Muslims. So, and I know that guy wanted to use the Berber because he wanted to sound smart. Berber. I'm gonna say the word Berber because it sounds strong. And he's sort of misusing it and so forth. But the European Christians and the Muslims were engaged in battle. They had conflict like Crips and Bloods. It was like, when I see you, there's going to be problems. So the European Christians weren't innocent in all this. It wasn't like, oh, you know what I'm saying, we're just minding our business and these Muslims coming up here and they're trying to enslave us. They was engaged in conflict. and and so forth. So I'm like, he gave her a history lesson, but some of it was true, but some of it he was pulling out of his ass. He didn't seem smart to me. Also, that female there, like I said, she's not doing us any favors, because the white people, they're going to look at that female as she can be saved. That her mentality is like that because of all this liberalism in society. Because she looks like the type of person that white incels beat it to at nighttime. She looks like an anime character. She's kind of like their type, besides the liberal aesthetic. But then again, if you meet a female who likes to watch anime and so forth, most likely she's going to be liberal. Well, that's all I want to say. Thanks for watching. Never Stop Learning.